This is Trent Emenecker. Sorry I missed your call. Please leave your name and number. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Dad. I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's good talking with you. Welcome, everyone, to the Please Don't Call Me podcast, where every podcast could have been a phone call.
Should have been a phone call.
Should have been a phone call. But it's good to see my dearest Alex live and in person, sitting in her cozy home. Is it cold there in Georgia?
It's been warmer today. It's been in the 60s, but it has been raining nonstop.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of flooding actually on my way home today. And in our house, we have yet to turn on the heat.
Wow.
Yesterday,
Why you're
it
wearing
was,
a gigantic sweater?
yeah, it is probably colder in our house right now than it is outside. That was true yesterday when I came home from work. There was a 4-degree difference. So it feels very wintry indoors, if not outdoors.
Well, good. What have you been up to? Anything exciting? I'm sure things are
Yeah.
happening at school.
It's a busy week. This is one of those weeks. Today's the only day I don't really have something after school. We have Christmas parties, Christmas program coming up. Got a basketball game in Atlanta Saturday. A lot of fun stuff. In school, today we started hatching brine shrimp.
Nice.
I've never done that before. I told the kids, I was like,
fresh water.
I don't know.
Salt
water. Yep. I said, I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to follow the directions and hope for the best. So hopefully that is successful, because I'll feel really bad if that is a bomb for the kids. These 3 weeks are weird. I saw on Instagram someone said that going back to school, the 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas feels like the last lap of Mario Kart, where the music starts playing really fast and everything's a little bit more stressful. And that is how I feel. What's going on with you?
Oh, just normal stuff. Good old work week. This weekend, Friday, I get to go back to Illinois. I'm going to be considered a resident of Illinois again. I've been going back so much for various things. Some good, some not so good. But I get to go back this weekend to be part of a memorial service for Leo. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
He'd give you rides on his. He drove teams of horses, and he'd give you guys rides. He's awesome. So
he was the best.
Yep, we're doing his memorial service this weekend, so I get to go back on. Oh, and I'm pretty much a part owner in Spirit Airlines, because that's all I fly, because we're cheap and that's the way we roll. And so I'm going back on Spirit, but this time, Alex, I did not pay for my seat or pay for a carry-on. So I'm stuffing all my stuff into a backpack, and I won't know my seat until I get there.
Don't you have to pack a suit for a memorial service?
I'm just going to roll it. I've seen it on the internet where you can roll things, and then you just open them up and put them right on. May not even have to iron it.
Okay.
So now I'm going to be wearing like 4 layers of clothes because that's the only way I'll get all my clothes up there. But yeah, I'm going to just take a backpack. That's my plan. And then I don't know what seat I'm sitting in. So I'm really stressed, because if I sit in the middle seat, who has the right to the armrests? Do I demand the armrests since I'm in the middle? I won't touch anyone. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I can't elbow. I can't nudge. How in the world do I get control of the armrest? Are they mine if I'm in the middle seat?
I feel like you should get first dibs, because you neither have the wall to lean on, like, because the person on the window seat has the wall.
That's my favorite.
Yes, that's obviously the preferred seat. And then the aisle, they have a guaranteed armrest. So I feel like you would get first dibs. But what's your strategy? Because
I don't have one.
Ideally, you would have to sit next to nobody.
Well, yeah, that'd be perfect. But now my flight up there usually is pretty empty. Especially that early in the morning one that I'm taking. But that one home on Sunday, it's always jam-packed.
What row are you going for? Like,
I don't know.
Let's say you're the first one on and you get your pick.
I should just they assign you a seat like when you check in. So I'll know my seat. But
okay,
I don't get to pick it now because I didn't pay for it. So I should announce well in advance. if you don't want me to puke, I need to be at the wing or above. Because if I
Okay.
sit in the back, because it bounces more in the back. If I
Mm-hmm.
sit in the back, lights out, it's not going to be pretty. They're going to have to spend extra time cleaning up because there's a real good chance I could get sick. So
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, you've been quite the frequent flyer this
when
year.
I sit down, I'm going to say my daughter on our cool podcast, which you should listen to, the Please Don't Call Me podcast. My daughter told me that the two armrests, if I'm stuck in the middle, are mine, and that should probably solve the argument.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Do you agree?
I would agree. I think
Okay,
that will convince most people.
awesome.
Yeah, we did. I've flown on Southwest, I think, where you truly just get to pick your seat. Like there's no assigned seating. You just go on and pick whatever seat you want.
I don't like
And
that indecision. That is not good.
yeah, it's stressful. I've seen different people have different strategies though. Some people like if they're a couple in there together, they'll like pretend to be in a big fight and have an empty seat in between them.
Wow.
And so no one wants to sit in between a fighting couple on a flight. So they fight and then no one wants to sit with them. And then they have that available seat in between them the whole time and they don't have to sit next to a stranger.
That
Ben
takes
and
a
I
lot.
did not try that. I
That
think
takes
we
a
like
lot
a
of
jacket
pre-planning.
across it.
Yeah,
And that was about as good as it got. But
I don't like that. So when used to fly, Mom would sit on one side with all of you, or with the two youngest, whoever what usually JT and Tyler.
mm-hmm.
Then I would sit with you guys on the other side because I can't move, I can't talk, I have to sleep through the whole flight. So all right, Alex, we're going to do a Christmas deep dive.
Okay, I'm ready.
That should have some cool theme music to go with it, but it doesn't. So for our deep dive, we're going to look at maybe one of the things or places that doesn't get a lot of attention,
Mm-hmm.
at least it never has in my lifetime. And I want to talk about Bethlehem, which you've been to. Haven't you been to Bethlehem?
I have been to Bethlehem, yes.
Tell us about it.
It was small.
Mm-hmm.
Not like crazy small, like, it was small and very just normal.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't super like, I don't know, I thought it would have been like more commercialized. It just didn't feel like that. It was really it did have a lot of things that alluded to the nativity and the Christmas story. Like one part where you walk in, there's this big arch, and in these like red letters it says Gloria in Excelsis. Did I say that right?
Something like
Excelsis
that.
Deo.
Mm-hmm.
And you like walk under it to go to they believe to be the stable or the
Yeah.
place where Jesus was born. Which can you prove that? I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
that there's a place that is widely recognized as where he was born. So you can go there. There was this overhang area that you could go to with all these benches. It was kind of just like a shelter type thing, kind of like a picnic shelter at a park. And you could sit there and you had the most beautiful view of the fields where the shepherds, it's called Shepherd's Field, where again, they assume the shepherds would have been keeping watch over their flocks.
Mm-hmm.
And that honestly stood out as the most beautiful part to me. I could have sat and looked at those fields and these rolling hills all day. It was so beautiful. And one of the things I'll always think of when I think of Bethlehem is when we were leaving that area, we actually got to go into where the site where they say Jesus was born. Which was more like, I would have described it as a cave. It's truly a cave,
Mm-hmm.
not what you would think, how we think of like a barn or a stable nowadays. It wasn't a building. It was a convenient area underneath a rock that
Mm-hmm.
worked. So we saw that, and the one thing I remember most vividly is there were these boys walking around, like young kids carrying lambs,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them just hands one to mom. And I I hadn't traveled internationally a lot, but I was just like, oh no, this is a tourist trap. Now they're going to charge mom for holding their sheep, and this is going to be a whole thing. And I remember being really stressed about it. But no, it was literally just these little boys letting people hold their lambs. And I have the cutest picture of mom. You know, mom can't resist a lamb because of all of our years raising sheep. They're just so precious. But she held one, and I'm like, that is just the most Bethlehem thing to do. But I'm curious to hear what you say, because I know being somewhere and then actually understanding the significance behind it can be two very different things.
The symbolism is crazy. So I love being actually guy at Christmas. Actually guy. Nobody likes actually guys. In fact, they're annoying, but I like being actually guy. And really the prime spot for an actually guy is Christmas. So for instance, let's say you're standing in church and it's New Year's Eve, no, Christmas Eve, and you're singing as a congregation, "We Three Kings of Orient are." That's the perfect time to elbow the person next to you and say, actually, there weren't three wise men. And then they would say to you in response, wow, what an awesome point you made. I am so grateful that you shared that with me. And then we would be singing the next song, and then I would have another actually. Christmas is great for that.
So actually guy is the guy that has to burst your bubble.
No,
you think something is true, and then someone comes in and bursts your bubble and goes, actually, your whole childhood is a lie.
Nope. I am making you more aware of all that exists in the universe. I don't know. You're probably right, Alex. I probably burst bubbles.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm not going to be actually guy with Bethlehem, but there is some crazy symbolism that I think we need to talk about. So, do you know where the prophecy is for Bethlehem itself? Old Testament,
Isaiah,
prophet. You're so close, and that's probably
I know it's in there somewhere.
That's the best guess for your money, but this one's in Micah 5:2. It says, "As for you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, Ephrathah, too little to be among the clans of Judah. From you, one will go forth for me to be ruler in Israel. His goings forth are from long ago, from the days of eternity." So that's when we find out in the Old Testament where Jesus is going to be born. So what's the significance of Bethlehem as far as Jesus's lineage? Do you know that one? That's a good place to start. That's a pretty easy one.
Well,
he was going to be born
in the city of David.
City of David. So what does that mean?
The city, maybe the city where David is from, or where David lived at some point in his life.
Right. Absolutely.
Where he was born.
And it even goes beyond before him. Do you know who the first in the line of Jesus lived there? Do you have any idea? It's a tough one. Old Testament.
I'm gonna guess it goes back past Jesse, who is David's.
It's going to be his grandfather.
Jesse's grandfather or David's grandfather?
Jesse's grandfather.
Jesse's grandfather. Jesse is a son of, is it Jacob?
Listen to you. No, you're going too far back.
I know that doesn't make sense.
Boaz.
Boaz
and Ruth?
My favorite Bible story.
Boaz lived in Bethlehem. That's where his fields were. The fields that you looked at.
That's where Ruth.
Yes, that's where they went back to.
Moved to.
Away from the famine.
With Naomi. Okay. I did not know that.
That's why it's the city of David. David was born there. He spent most of his childhood there for sure. That's where he learned how to shepherd. He shepherded in the same exact fields that the shepherds were in when Jesus was born.
What? Maybe that's why I love those fields so much. I didn't even know the connection to my favorite Bible story. That is so cool.
1 mile east of Bethlehem. It's called the Field of David because that was the field that he was in. Rachel is buried in Bethlehem. I mean, it's even though it's totally insignificant, our pastor this week said it's insignificant, but it's got a lot of significance And it shouldn't surprise us that Bethlehem would be chosen because of the line of David, the line of Jesus. We're all from around there. So that's really cool. Do you know what Bethlehem means? You can say no.
No, I
didn't
don't
know.
think I do.
I didn't know until I looked
I've
up.
never thought about this.
House of bread. House of bread.
Okay.
Because it was in, like, Boaz, what did he farm? Well, probably wheat.
Grain. Yeah.
Grain. Yep. So that whole area was perfectly irrigated, the right temperatures, so on and so forth, for fields, for wheat and whatnot. So it's wheat and sheep that were there. So that's called the house of bread. You could stretch that symbolism to thinking about the Passover.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what was the big significant meal they had at Passover?
The unleavened bread.
Unleavened bread. Yep. So that bread is important. Manna was probably like bread. What was one of the sacrifices that took place in the temple? What did they offer before God in the temple?
Bread.
Bread. Yeah.
I know Ben and I are reading through every night. We read a chapter in the Bible, and we just finished Leviticus. Woo!
Yep.
Lots of rules about sacrifices, but I remember reading about bread.
Bread. What did Jesus call himself?
The bread of life.
Bread of life. So even Bethlehem's name has some awesome symbolism about bread and how Jesus is the bread and his body is broken for us. And now what do we celebrate with? About once a month?
Oh, communion. Yeah.
Communion. And one of the elements is bread. So that's pretty sweet to think about, but that's not the best one. Here's the best one.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. So the field of David, where the sheep were raised, is the only place where sacrificial lambs for the temple in Jerusalem were raised. So they didn't get lambs from all over the place. The official lamb, the Passover lamb especially, but all the other lambs were born in the fields of David. There's this, I want to make sure I get it right. I'm using notes. Oh, by the way, I'm getting this. The best on this is a ministry called Verse by Verse Ministry. They lay this out so awesome. But they call this, there are a bunch of these towers that they built so that they could protect the sheep. It's called, the main tower was called Migdal Eder, which totally sounds like Lord of the Rings.
It does. That's what I was going to say.
Migdal Eder is in the field of David, and there's a bunch of watchtowers. And when the ewes were ready to lamb, they would take the ewe, bring it to the tower. The lamb would be born in the tower. Kind of reminds you of Mary leaving Nazareth, going to Bethlehem. The lamb would be born in the tower. It's kind of a barn. They would take the lamb because it had to be perfect, right? When it was born, it couldn't have a blemish.
Without blemish. Yeah.
It couldn't have cuts. If you've been around lambs, they come out and they're wobbly legged and they bang into stuff. And there's a lot of ways they could get hurt. Or they love to play and bang into each other. So it had to be perfect. So what they would do is take that lamb, and guess what they would wrap it in?
Swaddling cloths.
Swaddling cloths. They would wrap it up like they would a baby, and they would lay the lambs in a stone manger to protect it, especially the one that was going to be the Passover lamb, like Jesus, that was going to be sacrificed at the temple in the fields of David in Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. The symbolism is so awesome. I'm just saying it's super interesting. And what it should do.
Well, it's intentional. Like it's not crazy because it didn't just happen. It's not like that. God knew that. And that wasn't, I talk about that with my students all the time. I'm like, we're talking about, like, today we were in 4th grade, we're learning about bones and how our bodies are created. And they're like, this is so cool. We have 206 bones in our bodies. I'm like, well, that didn't just happen. Like, that was designed, just like all that God said in the Old Testament and Micah was going to happen. Like, he knew all that. And so it's not crazy because it was intentionally designed, and that's what makes it even cooler. It's not coincidence.
It is. And it should not make us think more about Bethlehem or sheep or shepherds. It should, all that symbolism should remind us of what Christ did for us, that he was born in Bethlehem and would soon become our lamb, the lamb that would die on the cross for our sins, just like that lamb represented atonement for the people of Israel. Jesus represents our atonement when he dies on the cross. It's it's amazing that those lambs, the only lambs worthy of the temple, were born in the field of David outside of Bethlehem, right where Jesus was born.
That's
It's
so
so
interesting to me because I'm just realizing people that lived back then, let's say after Christ's birth, or sorry, after Christ's death, burial, resurrection, the disciples go out and they're telling people about this man whose life they just saw, and they go and tell someone he was born in Bethlehem. And a lot of these people, because Bethlehem is so small and insignificant, the only association they might have with Bethlehem is knowing that the lambs for sacrifice were born there, and that connection, like, even though that might be lost to us now, you know, hopefully here we are getting the word out about it, but as much as that is like lost to us now, back then that could have been just, I don't know, to the people that understood the symbolism of that and hear that he was laid in a manger and swaddling cloths. Like, if they knew that, if they knew the process and the procedure, like, that was just normal, I wonder if that ever made a huge difference for anybody.
So according to, I think so. Well, to your point, the shepherds were trained. They weren't just regular shepherds. So they would select shepherds. They would be trained at the temple, taught the significance of the Passover lamb, so on and so forth. They were not elite, that's the wrong word, but they were specially trained shepherds who would be placed in Bethlehem because it was a special field. Every year, they would see Passover lamb being born, being selected by the high priest, wrapping it up, putting it in a manger, waiting until the right time for it to be transported, carried to the temple and sacrificed. These shepherds, so when they were out in the field, it says, here I go being actually guy, that they were totally shocked and amazed. I think their only amazement was that there was angels in the sky. I don't think they were super surprised by the story, because when they went to see Jesus, instead of a lamb being there, they saw a baby. Now they were probably like, oh, we've seen lambs do this every year. We've never seen, a baby boy be born this way. But the process was pretty much the same thing they would see every year with lambs, and now it was Jesus. So I don't think they were super surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it clicked in their heads. They went, this is the Messiah, because this is just like the lamb that gets transported to the temple. That's me.
That is so interesting,
But
because
it's interesting.
in my mind, these are just normal random shepherds that maybe aren't religious, wouldn't know the prophecies, wouldn't maybe know God. I don't know. They're just random guys out in a field taking care of their sheep, just like normal farmers, kind of how I thought about it. And in reality, these might be shepherds that, I don't know, like they might have understood everything
I
a
think,
lot better.
yeah, I think they
And
had
yeah,
some knowledge of what was going on. They knew how special their role was, and to see a baby born, maybe in
right.
one of those, we don't know if it was a cave, a guest house. The word kind of means guest house, but it could have been in one of those towers. They might have been empty because they were very close to Bethlehem, so we don't know. But what a great picture. So I think the three big takeaways: Bethlehem means house of bread, that Jesus is the bread of life. That's pretty cool. That uh, it is in the line of David that he was born because of the census. He was born, where David in Bethlehem, where David was centered, which is really important because David said, "From me is going to come the king, the real king." So that's pretty cool. And then the whole stuff about the lamb, I think, is totally cool. So there you go. Without being too much of an actually guy, I think that's some pretty cool info. I'm checking.
That was a good actually. I'll accept that
Really?
actually.
Like,
Yes.
you'll take my
It
actually.
wasn't bursting a bubble.
No.
So, do you remember last year, at this time, Ben and I decided to try a diet, just as like a detox before Christmas came, because we knew we were gonna eat our weight in cookies. And so we tried the keto diet, and I didn't research it. I was just like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll do whatever. He did all the research, and there's different levels of how committed you can be to the keto diet, and Ben was fully committed. Like, we did not break a single rule. And it was December's the worst time to do that because people are giving you Christmas cookies like this week, or
Being
there's
a
just
teacher is the worst.
yes, being a
Is a
teacher,
great
because they're
thing.
literally giving me all this
That's
candy.
the easiest thing to buy a teacher's cookies.
Yes, is candy. And I could not, or you go to Christmas parties and all the food has carbs in it. So this year I am treasuring every bit of sugar and carbs that I get to enjoy during the season, because last year I went without. And so I'm like excited for my work Christmas party tomorrow night. Last year I dreaded it because I wasn't going to be able to eat anything. And this year I'm a little more excited because I get to actually partake in the food.
So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going the complete other way. So I just read somewhere, how they pop up all the ads, not ads, but stories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The average person adds 10 pounds between Thanksgiving and the New Year. And I totally get it. There's so much food offered you. It's just right there. So I
Right.
have a plan. I may still eat a lot. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's almost inevitable because you don't want to be rude and you've got parties and stuff. But I'm going to zig when other people zag. So if everybody is adding 10 pounds, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, which actually is going to equal how many pounds, Alex? Do the math.
20?
20 pounds. I will be, in essence, losing
Mm-hmm.
20 pounds. I only have to lose 10 to lose 20.
So you have to not gain the 10 that
I'm not gonna get
everybody
10.
allegedly gains.
That's right.
And then you also need to
I'm going to lose 10.
lose 10. So really it's would you say the net of 20 pounds?
Well, just don't, when you say net, everybody goes, oh, really? It's only
I'm
10.
probably
No,
not using that correctly,
20
to be
pounds.
honest.
No, you're using it correctly. I'm trying to fool people into thinking I'm going to lose 20 pounds. So if I do eat, my plan is to way over exercise. I mean,
Okay.
I am going like the Rocky montage. So it will be like me being Rocky, getting ready to fight. Who's the first guy? Apollo? Is that the first guy? Apollo Creed.
I
Me
know he
getting ready
fights
to
Apollo Creed, Clubber
Clubber
leg.
Lang.
Mom would be very disappointed in us right now because she's a Rocky
Yeah, and then
purist.
the big Russian guy.
Drago, maybe.
Yeah, who I sort of look like with my shirt off. But I am going to. It's going to be like a Rocky montage. You know where he chases the chickens around?
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to have to do that with ducks down here.
Okay, we got to cover all the movies then. You got to punch the meat and be throwing the carcasses.
Put me in a butcher shop, and I'm going to punch the meat, and I'm going
sling
to
some meat
throw
around.
the meat. And then I'll go to the beach, which is easy for
Mm-hmm.
me. I'll just run up and down the beach.
Race Apollo Creed.
Yeah, me and Apollo are going to run through the water and throw our arms in the air. And then this is going to be tougher, but I'm going to get like some big logs and I'm going to carry them and lift them.
Okay. That's from the one in Russia, right?
I'm going to run through snow that's kind of like up to my neck.
Mm-hmm. You need to get another plane ticket, another Spirit Airlines ticket to Philadelphia and run up the stairs.
I'm going to run up the stairs
in
Philadelphia.
You can't not.
Yeah. There's down the road, we have a library that's got like 2 stairs. I'll probably just do that.
Okay, I'm going to need a video of that.
Okay. And then what else did Rocky do? Whatever he does, I'm going to do like the intensity of that montage for the next month.
Okay.
I
think we need some footage of it for our Instagram.
I'll probably have my production staff follow me around and we'll get some footage of my Rocky montage. It's going to be quite something and I can't wait to report on that. So, all right. We'll probably have to ask Rocky if we can use his theme music for my montage, but we'll
wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm sure when he sees with the intensity with which I work, he'll probably allow me to use it. So it's going to be good. So be looking for that, everybody. All right, Alex, I think we've discussed, we did a deep dive. We had a little fun. We caught up. It's been good.
Yeah, it was great. I love it. I feel more Christmassy
Yeah, absolutely. Well, have
and,
fun at
and
your.
motivated.
Remember, you can eat. Just do the exercises
Yes,
between the
it's
eating.
just over.
That's all you got to do. So have fun at your Christmas parties and your Christmas programs and all that
Thank
stuff.
you. It'll be fun. It'll be great. I've cried at I'm turning into mom. I have cried at every single practice of for my kids. They sing one of my favorite Christmas songs for the program, and it's fun to see the kids all dressed up in their Christmas clothes, and it'll be a good time. And
Right.
I hope you are successful in your armrest
Well, we'll see. I'm more.
situation. I
Yeah, I'm
hope you get
nervous.
an armrest, at least
We'll see how
one,
it
if
goes.
not two.
Maybe I'll even get some footage of that. If it comes to blows, I will. I'll get some footage. So, all right. Love you. Have a great week.
Love you too.
Bye, bye, podcast people. Please don't call me
Podcast
podcast.
Nation.
We're still looking for sponsors.